Nutrition Hero Podcast. Igniting both the art and the science of functional medicine. Here's your host, Dr. Brad Watts.
Hello and welcome everybody to the Nutrition Hero Podcast. I'm Dr. Brad Watts. Welcome to the podcast lab today once again. Today I have a special guest. Her name is Dr. Jannine Krause. She's a naturopath in the Upper Northwest. First, I want to take care of a few housekeeping things. If you are new to the podcast, make sure you hit subscribe on iTunes or YouTube. Give us a thumbs up and hit that 5-star rating for us. And make sure that you're participating as a nutrition hero. Because remember, this is about you. This is your podcast. You are the nutrition hero, celebrating the people and the providers that are really having an impact in their community. That's what this thing is all about. And I love it. So glad to be part of your journey. All right, with Dr. Jannine Krause today, we get to discuss quite a few different things. She is a naturopath, as I said, quite a few different pieces of information that we went through. But I do want to say one of the things that I appreciate most, and this is amazing, we're really talking about how to form habits in your patients. And so she references a couple of different books in her conversations today. Grab those. Make sure you follow her at the links in the podcast notes below. And without any further ado, welcome, Dr. Jannine. All right, Dr. Krause, welcome to the Nutrition Hero Podcast. Thank you for joining me today. I very much appreciate it.
Thank you, Brad. I appreciate it as well.
Yeah, so I'm excited to have a conversation today about a few things that I know about you, and I'm excited to hear more, learn more. One of those things is your history as a naturopath. I got to ask, I'm always curious, why or how did you pick? How did naturopathy pick you? How did that happen?
Oh my gosh, it did pick me. It truly did. I was 15 years old. My mom was diagnosed with breast cancer. We were lucky enough to live in the town that had the Cancer Treatment Centers of America that said, quote, Chicago. Not even close to Chicago, but whatever. If it says Chicago, people get excited, bright lights, city. So yeah, it was a small town, Zion, Illinois. And that was my mom's option. She could go there for some care. And we met a naturopath named Timothy Birdsall. Just great dude. He just took me in and was like, hey, you want to learn about what we do? Showed me all these different things, gave me a little internship. I mean, at 15, you're like owning it. You're like, oh, I'm so important.
Absolutely.
This is so cool. So they took me through everything from homeopathy to herbs, and then introduced me to an acupuncturist who was up in Kenosha. So Zion, Illinois is at the border of Illinois and Wisconsin, right on Lake Michigan. So right over the border, we went to the acupuncturist. And this guy, oh my goodness, just took in a 15-year-old's interest and started taking me around, showing me all the details. This point does this point does that. This is why this works. Try these Chinese herbs, see what happens. And so I just started to love all the tools in the toolbox. Because when I went with my mom to her oncologist, it was like, all right, how'd the chemo go? How you doing? Yeah, great. All right. See you later. And it was maybe, 10, 15 minutes of a visit. Whereas with Dr. Birdsall, we would sit there for over an hour sometimes. And it was just like hanging out with family, talking about life and habits and different things. My mom was definitely kind of like a hippie of sorts. We did eat really well growing up. I was a kid trying to trade out my twigs and sticks, the little sesame sticks for Doritos. Not successful, but I tried. Right. And so we learned new things about nutrition and some of the things that maybe my mom wasn't doing great in terms of balancing food. So I found that so incredibly amazing and just listening to patients. Wow. So cool. You listen to what's going on. You want to know how my mom's day was. You want to know that she feels like crap and, not doing so well. This is awesome. So that's what brought me into it. And yes, I did apply to conventional med school. I actually took the MCAT. I got in. And I just was like, there's just not enough tools. So that's what ultimately made the decision. Yes, I'm doing this. And
that's like cheating, though. That's cheating as a 15-year-old to have that kind of experience. Yeah. To set a direction, like a course for where you want to go. That's kind of cool. That's especially during those formative years. It's an opportunity that not a lot of people have, and it's interesting. I get to talk to a ton of doctors, and I got to tell you, that's cheating.
Yeah, I guess. But I mean, it ended well. I mean, shoot, I'm gonna be oh gosh, I've been in practice 13 years now, going on this year. And it's been, I've had ups and downs, of course, and been like, what the heck was I thinking? But in the end, I love it. I love it, every bit of it. And I'm so glad I did it.
I think everybody goes through that, but I think what brings you back is the impact. And so you have a podcast, you're helping people all over the place. And like, what's your focus right now as a provider?
Most of my focus is getting people to move better, be pain-free, really neuroinflammation. So trying to calm down the nerve inflammation and inflammation in the brain. I'm geeking out on anything pain and any direction of how pain comes in to the system. From training, I just took a training this weekend, a pain-free performance specialist, hung out with a bunch of really cool trainers and learned how to work with my patients to kind of be like, oh, you've been banging out barbell, chest presses for how many years? No wonder your shoulder hurts. Maybe we need to look at some of the functional stability here and think about maybe we need to back it down a little so that you can keep doing chest presses, maybe not a barbell, but something of that nature, and squats and all that cool stuff. So yeah, I geek out on pain hardcore in my office right now.
Not that it's needed or anything right now, right? With our opioid crisis. Very, very interesting that you look at more of like functional minded movement, functional minded nutrition. Really what you're talking about is a functional minded lifestyle. What's your viewpoint on lifestyle right now as it relates to chronic disease in the United States today?
Wow, that's a loaded question.
I know.
A couple different things. Chronic disease, I think diet's a big deal in terms of lifestyle. We gotta really look at what food's doing to us and connect back with our bodies to know how things are affecting us. I think a lot of people are so disconnected from their bodies. They don't even know how certain things affect them. We've got even down to the chemicals, so many people wearing perfumes and lotions and using all the different candles out there that aren't super toxic, and the Glade plugins, said a brand, but anyway, the plug-in things, those are just toxic, but people are loading themselves up with all of this stuff. So I'm looking at it environmentally, I'm looking at it nutritionally, I'm also looking at about stress, and I'm looking at lifestyle habits, so movement habits. Some people are very sedentary. Other folks are like weekend warriors. Some people will bang out the same exercise routine, that their coach gave them in high school. And, no wonder you're still in pain. You were 17 when you started that program, and now you're 75. We got to figure out changes over the lifetime. So I'm kind of looking at chronic disease as multiple different factors contributing to it. And how can I intervene in someone's life to help them take control of those different
So you mentioned in there going back and assessing how something is affecting your health. Take for context, a candle or some chemical that you're being exposed to. How do you coach people into that self-assessment? What does that look like?
So it involves a little bit of writing stuff down. I go old school in that aspect, or someone's like, I'm not going to write stuff down. We do recording on the phone, like make a recording, do a selfie video of yourself talking about it. That can be really impressive sometimes. Or there are apps. So I use technology, or I go old school in terms of writing stuff down. And I give people parameters of what they need to be paying attention to. So breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, what'd you drink? How'd you feel? Mood? It seems like it's kind of complex, but I kind of leave it in terms of what is the main focus that's going on with someone. Is it where they're having headaches, feeling, anxiety, depression, etc. Then I'm looking at nerve inflammation kind of stuff. So I will tailor it basically towards what's going on. And it's writing down how your environment affects you. Do you go to work and you feel like crap, but you're at home and you're feeling okay? All right, look above you. Is there a vent above you? Could, there be spores coming down on you from mold in there? It's looking at the carpet around you. It's being aware of your environment and connecting yourself to it. So I have people do at least 2 weeks of it. And they're taking notes and looking, okay, every single day, what happened, mood, things of that nature. If they skip a day, okay, I'm not a hardcore, I'm not hard on it.
Yeah.
I'm just like, all right, fine, you missed a day, no big deal. But I will find by the end of those 2 weeks of checking yourself in the environment, what do you feel like in your car? What do you feel like at your home in your bedroom? Are you waking up in the morning every morning stuffy with eyes all puffy? What'd you eat the night before? What's going on in your bedroom? Do you have a HEPA filter? You know, there's so many things, but it's details in terms of your connection to the environment and what your body's doing, what's happening inside you. Once I get that connection, now we can make some change because we've identified certain patterns.
That's cool. One of the things that you mentioned is when a patient has to say, how do they feel?
Mm-hmm.
I find that a lot of patients, they can't express how they feel. They just go good, bad, sad, mad, glad. And you're like, all right, something other than an ad, what do you have? And like, what's your skill set around that? Like, what are some of the tools that you use to draw those things out of people? Do you have a list for them to pick from or what?
Yeah, I do. Actually, I do. You know, the glad, sad, you know, the old school, you've seen it in the hospitals, the faces. In terms of if someone can't give you a pain scale, we have the face scale. And so I call it the emoji scale in terms of what kind of emoji is happening right now. If that's what you want to give me, and this works really, I think really, really well in the 20-year-old, 30-year-old age range, it works really well. And then if someone's a little bit older, sometimes other things work, but you know, I can't be as specifically general. So I have the emoji factor. I also do have the scale of like 1 to 10. If someone's into that, that works too. The other one is what would you say with a body check-in right now? You know, sitting there going, do I feel pain? Do I feel
That's
off?
important.
Do I feel, you know, do I feel dizzy? Do I feel nauseous? People can sometimes give you a symptom. So I will say, do you have a symptom? So if you don't have necessarily a feeling to tie to it, do you have a symptom that you can tie? Do you feel bloated? Do you feel tired? Do you have a food baby? Do you have, whatever the word may be in that department? I'm going off of like, what is your symptom you feel? And a lot of people will give me that. So those are like my 3 scales is I've got the emojis, I've got the numbers, and then I have a symptom. What is the symptom that you're expressing in this moment?
That's cool. The food baby, I think, has to be, I think I have to add that to my repertoire here. That's a good one. When you look at parlaying all of that information into your patient's lifestyle, there has to obviously be habit formation that takes place. What are some of the things you found to improve a patient's habits?
So have you ever read the book Motivational Interviewing?
Yes.
So we had to read that back at Bastyr, and it was one of the most enlightening books because it really gave me a sense of, oh, people know their own truth. You just have to kind of bring it out so that it was their idea and their kind of concept. Because if the more you tell someone to do something, the more it's like, forget you, your inner 12-year-old, 13-year-old is going to come out and you're going to hormone rage and say, no way. So you typically have to look at where someone's at and what's their truth in that moment to help them realize, what is it that they need to change. They all know. Every single person that comes to you knows what they need to change. They absolutely have the answers. It's a matter of getting them to trip over their own answers and tell you exactly what it is. And I'm kind of spouting a little bit off of what I heard in a conference before, because tripping over your own truth is not my exact statement that I created, but this is something that came from a trainer that I heard just this last weekend. And I love it because it's true. People will say, oh, they'll just start telling you like, well, I think I need to do this. And so oftentimes I'll ask folks, all right, so you're here to see me. What do you think that you need in terms of help? Where can I help you? Then once we get some of the answers, we just keep moving forward in terms of, okay, so you want to lose weight. Let's use that for habit formation, because that's probably one of the number one things I hear. And probably a lot of people do, and you'll go, okay, well, why do you think you're overweight? Which is it's a loaded question. And I'm a little ballsy, if you will, and I'll tell people it straight out. I'm going to provoke some questions that you're not going to feel good about, but I need to know these answers. So yeah, one of the big things is asking folks, why do you think that you need to lose weight? What's your mindset around this? What is it? And a lot of people will be like, well, I think I eat too much, or I have no idea. Like, that's a great answer as well. Okay, then that's when you dive in more. So you work on trying to get folks to give you a little bit of sense of what their barriers are. And that's another thing that's huge in habit formation, finding out what the barriers are. Once you know what the barriers are to creating the healthy habit that you want to create, then it's going, okay, how do we remove those barriers? And I love to pair up my barrier removal with another habit that folks already have already ingrained in them. So you can piggyback habits. There's
Like
a
what?
book. Oh, geez, let's go with this. Waking up in the morning and drinking coffee. Okay. You have time when that coffee is being made. It's not magical that it's going to be hovering right in front of you. You're going to grab it and you're going to drink it. It's not the Jetsons. We never got there. I always thought that when I was growing up that we were going to have a Jetsons world. We're not there yet. But your coffee's not hovering. So you've got time for when that coffee is being made, or you have time when certain things are happening in the morning. I like to use coffee just because the coffee maker does its thing. You can drink a glass of water in that time. You can help hydrate yourself. So piggybacking off of habits that you've already ingrained. Waiting for the coffee, I sometimes will have people stretch or work on balance routines or work on mobility, like, reaching overhead, working on their wrist.
See, this is really important. If you're listening here, we're talking with Dr. Jannine Krause, and one of the things that you're doing right now that I really appreciate is it's not all about removal. Like, you're adding something into their lifestyle. And I think so many natural healthcare providers get into the weeds pretty quick because it's all about removal. Like, how can we pare down your lifestyle? And people are like, I need to add something sometimes. There's value in that. That's awesome.
Yeah, no, from trial and error. I mean, God, if I said I didn't remove things and try to do that ever in the past, I'd be lying, absolutely lying. But I learned over time that you can't do that. And even in myself, I've found that, if I keep taking away certain foods, because I think I have a food sensitivity to everything under the sun, I'm going to create myself a eating disorder, which I absolutely did after school, because I started to think that I had a gluten intolerance and a this intolerance. I mean, basically I was eating air at one point in my life because I really couldn't figure out what to eat, and I became paralyzed. And this is a big problem in the natural medicine and alternative medicine world is, yes, you're right, taking away things. And so I kind of vowed to never take away things per se, unless of course it was like you have an IgE EpiPen status allergy, obviously. But no, habit formation really is in the range of adding two things. You've got to find something that's already ingrained in that individual and then piggyback upon something that's already ingrained. So I find, coffee's an easy one because most people have coffee. If they don't do coffee, they do tea. That's one aspect. If they don't do that, they do smoothies. So, all right, what can we do, in that time frame when that smoothie is moving? So this is something, if folks out there are struggling with habit formation with their clients, Atomic Habits by James Clear, I believe is his name. Read the hell out of that book. That is like mind-blowing to help you with patients, to really get them to solidify their habits, because it's just so like you're just adding things to, and you're also looking at what you can tweak in terms of habits. You're not taking things away, you're just tweaking things just a little bit. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So just to highlight that again, just to make sure everybody got it, so they didn't miss it when you're talking, is that you're piggybacking upon an already established habit. So there's no brush clearing that has to happen. The pathway's already there. You might as well use it with more than one habit. That's awesome. That's awesome. So what do you think, or what's your experience been like in habit formation for a topic here? What is your experience like? How long does it take a patient to typically move in the right direction and to make it stick?
It takes longer than 21 days. I'll tell you that much. 21 days is what everyone kind of touts, but really, I think for something to be ingrained, it often takes almost 2 to 3 months, depending on what kind of habit we're trying to work on here. Drinking water, it seems so simple. Breathing techniques seem so simple. They're free. I'm not even giving you a darn supplement. I'm not even working on it's absolutely free, but they're free. A lot of the free things are the most beneficial in your life. And so it's crazy, but yeah, you have to be patient with the process. I think that's a big thing. A lot of practitioners are not patient with the process, and they'll start to try to jump to something new too quick, when it's really a matter of going, all right, okay, so this week you did 3 glasses more of water. Let's just go with that, for example. Awesome. Okay, reward the wins. Don't be like, oh, you only did 3 glasses of water. I mean, some people, well, they know better, but somehow it ends up being like a backdoor slap to people.
Sure.
in terms of the terminology and how things go. So I typically will be like, celebrate the wins that happen, and then go, all right, what was the barrier on the days that they didn't happen? You know, oh, I went out for coffee. Okay, well, those people that made you the coffee still had to make you the coffee. And even if you went through a drive-through, you could still ask them for water. Oh, I didn't even think about that. It's often the dumb little things, and I'm guilty of it too. I'm not calling anybody dumb. It's little things that we just don't think about. So now it's like, okay, every time you go through the drive-through coffee place, drive-through coffee places are huge out here in the Pacific Northwest. And it's like, if you go through the drive-through coffee place, then it's like, all right, every time you go, you ask for water. That's what you do. Anytime you get coffee at Starbucks, you're asking for water.
That's a great idea. Yeah.
So
that's a great idea.
Simple additions and just looking at where barriers are at to achieve the goal. And then eventually by, I usually see it by the end of 2 months to 3 months, we'll have a habit already set in that they're thinking about consciously, okay, I need to get this in. Now, the other big thing that I'm guilty of in the past and have learned that I have to stop is not adding too many habits at once. You can't give someone a treatment plan of 10 things they have to do with 10 habits they have to set. I can't do it. I mean, have you ever had someone tell you, like, you need to do this, and this? What did you end up doing? How many? I mean,
almost none of them, or whichever one I liked.
And that's typically like, which one do I resonate with the most? Perfect. And so, a lot of times I'll outline to folks all of the things I want to do with them, but I'm going to be like, we're going to start here, sometimes based on what they want to do, because that is a huge thing to even note about the habits, is asking, which one of these do you think that's realistic for you? Which one's the easiest one to do? Which one resonates with you the most? So that's another thing to add on.
That's awesome. What's your favorite thing to work on as a provider?
Hands down, pain.
Hands down?
Hands down, pain. Because with being an acupuncturist, I can get someone to at least have some sort of relief, even if the pain doesn't come down a lot, by being able to just sit with someone for an hour. I mean, granted, I'm in and out of the room most of the times, but having someone sit there for an hour, me coming in and out, I spend a lot more time with them than the average doc would be able to. And so I'm getting to learn a little bit more about them and figure out all the reasons for their pain, but I'm also able to put them through different sequences while they've got the needles in, to be like, all right, does your shoulder feel better? Like, let's needle this pinky point. Okay, things moving. All right, great. So I'm a very hands-on person in the office. So I like to test things left and right. Did that work? Did that work? Sometimes with my lifters and my athletes, I'll put them through the sequences of lifting with little tack needles in and going, okay, are we working the right channel? If not, then we chase it somewhere else. So I like to refer to it as chasing pain, but it's just gives me a rush, man. I love trying to figure out the puzzle. It's so much fun going like, all right, what channel? What's this? What's that? All the things, putting it together. It's cool.
That's really cool, with like chasing pain and trying to figure out what channels involved. How much of it are you finding is emotional versus chemical versus they've been squatting wrong for 14 years and it needs to get fixed? Like, what, obviously it's gonna be different for each person, but what's your take on the different pieces in that puzzle?
Oh my God. We're all stressed out. If someone came in my office and told me that they have no stress, which happens sometimes, they're like, no, I'm not stressed. Nothing's wrong. Nothing's wrong at all. My ears are, really close to my shoulders because that's how I was born.
Correct.
Okay. A lot of us are coming in off of driving in really stressful traffic, or we have multiple things we're juggling in life, or there's so much social media, it's inundating us and making us, just crazy, right? There's so many things that hit us, and we're not genetically evolved at this point in time. So anyone who comes in is going to have some emotional trauma stuck somewhere in their body. And interestingly enough, it's mostly these channels. So small intestine, gallbladder, urinary bladder channels are the big ones. So it's really fun is to ask then, do you have any issues, with your digestion? Do you
Right.
have any bladder stuff going on? Do you have, anything going on with the gallbladder, fat, issues, breakdown issues? So it's fun to kind of trace it back. So if I had to give a percentage, I would say 100% of people come in with emotional trauma, stress, etc. That's compounded over time. Maybe about 25% of what is pain that folks have from lifting might not even be from lifting. It could be because they were stressed, put themselves into a really hard workout to try to, blow out the stress. And here they are with the pain. So I think stress and trauma, 100%. Sadly.
That's awesome. I think that's an awesome assessment, and being able to work the pieces that you are seeing is 90% of the battle. And obviously having that skill set to be able to work with movement and some of the chemical stuff and some of the emotional stuff, that's pretty awesome. That's something that modern medicine doesn't really have right now. To be able to work in 3 areas is pretty compartmentalized. And so that's good on you for doing that. So Doc, where can we find more information about what you're doing? Where can we follow you? I know you have a podcast. What can you tell us?
Yeah. So if you want to dive in deep on certain topics with me, the Health Fix podcast is where you'll find that. The website for that is thehealthfixpodcast.com, or my personal website, drjkrauseND.com. I've got some courses up there. I've got a lot of just general information. And I also am all over Instagram now that I figured out how to use it. Yes, I know, big win here. I tried to hold off on that one, and you know what, I really love it. I am on Facebook, Dr. Jannine Krause, and then Instagram is Dr. Jannine, Jannine Krause, all smashed together. And there you get to see my personality, you get to see me with my dogs, you get to see pretty much all about me and get to know me a little bit better. And it's fun to do that. It's fun to educate. So those are the main places you can find me. And I do have a YouTube channel. I'm working on trying to improve that a little bit. That's Doc J Krause. So you can find me there. Some of my old videos when I had longer hair and looked a little different, but I work on it all the time.
That's great. Well, Doctor, I appreciate your time today. Thank you for dropping some education on us. It's awesome. And I very much appreciate you being part of the Nutrition Hero podcast.
Well, thank you. My pleasure.